It all began with a bombshell nobody saw coming. King Harris, the golden child born into fame and luxury, was suddenly standing on the edge of losing it all. Fans, critics, everyone froze as shocking reports started rolling in about his health. Nobody expected something this serious from someone so young. The rumors went wild. Some whispered it was a sudden medical emergency. Others hinted at something far darker happening behind the scenes. And you wouldn't believe how fast it all spiraled. King Harris had been riding high for so long, he felt untouchable, a storm no one could control. But now, doctors were murmuring things no fan ever wanted to hear. Inside that hospital, the silence was suffocating. Family members gathered tight, phones lighting up with unanswered calls. The kind of dread that only comes when facing the fall of a legend. The once invincible king, the boy who seemed destined for greatness, was now fighting for his life. Questions started flooding in. How did it come to this? How did a star who once had the whole world shouting his name end up alone in a hospital bed surrounded by machines and fear? Fans didn't know how to feel. Some refused to believe it, insisting it was just another one of King's publicity stunts. But as more details slipped out, denial turned to shock. Something was seriously wrong. And trust me, the truth that started surfacing was nothing like anyone expected. Then the internet exploded. Social media was in absolute chaos. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all drowning in rumors and theories. Some fans were heartbroken, praying he'd pull through. Others, not so much. Some almost seemed satisfied, like they'd been waiting for this downfall, claiming they'd seen it coming for years. And in between were the confused, the lost, the ones who didn't know what to believe anymore. That's when the insider leaks began. Whispers said King had been battling health issues for months, something the family allegedly kept under wraps. Could this really be the end for the king of controversy, the rebel who never played by anyone's rules? But here's where things took a sharp turn. This wasn't just about a young man's health anymore. It was about an empire, one built on fame, drama, and family secrets. And as time passed, it became painfully clear. King's collapse wasn't just his story. It was a reflection of everyone who helped build him up. The empire they created around him was starting to crumble. The whispers grew louder. Doctors were reportedly worried not only about his body, but about the toll that years of pressure had taken on him. Some leaks mentioned stress-induced organ failure. Others hinted at something darker, talk of self-medicating, pills, and the substances that kept him running through endless nights of shows, parties, and chaos. Was this the true price of fame? Or had King fallen into a trap of his own making, driven by family, industry pressure, and inner demons? And then came the silence, like the loudest part of all. The Harris family, usually front and center, suddenly vanished from the spotlight. Not just silent from grief, but silent by choice. Insiders claimed they were trying to protect their brand. Because King wasn't just their son, he was their business. His image, his success, their entire empire rested on him. And while fans prayed, the family allegedly worked behind the scenes to hold it all together. Leaks started pouring in. Fans demanded answers. Why hadn't anyone spoken sooner? Was this really just a health crisis or something far more sinister? People began revisiting his past breakdowns, his public meltdowns, those wild Instagram lives. Was King Harris truly a victim of fame's pressure? Or had he simply gone too far? One thing's for sure, this was no longer just about one man's illness. This was about the future of the Harris legacy itself. The pressure to be perfect, the weight of fame, it had all taken a brutal toll. The cracks that had been forming for years finally split wide open, and for the first time, the world saw just how deep the damage ran. This wasn't just a medical scare. It was a story drenched in power, fame, and the brutal cost of living under constant spotlight. Inside the hospital, the Harris family huddled together while cameras outside captured every glance, every tear, every breath. And online, the internet went wild, digging through years of the family's history, searching for clues. What were they hiding? What truth were they too afraid to face? Could King have known something the world wasn't supposed to hear? And was this health crisis really a side effect of the life he'd been pushed into by those closest to him? Then came the wildest twist yet. As the family waited in silence, darker whispers began to spread. Some claimed King wasn't just a star who lived fast. They said he was tangled in something deeper, something that could bring the entire Harris dynasty to its knees. As the world watched, the cracks in their picture-perfect empire started to split wide open. The carefully controlled story of fame, wealth, and power was collapsing in real time. While King fought for his life, his family was scrambling, not just to save him, but to save their empire. The rumors about his decline weren't only about sickness. The truth leaking out was far more disturbing. Behind those hospital doors, the real story was starting to surface, and it became clear this fall didn't begin with his collapse. It had been building for months, maybe even years. Sources claimed the family had been hiding more than a health issue. King's body had been breaking down long before the public ever knew. He'd fainted backstage, vanished for days, but every incident was buried, all to protect the brand. Because in their world, the brand meant everything. King Harris wasn't just a celebrity. He was the product. Every post, every performance, every spontaneous moment was planned to keep him trending, and the money flowing. His health? An afterthought. That's the part that stunned everyone. The very family that built their fortune off his fame had allegedly let him fall apart just to keep the image alive. Behind the glamour, King wasn't living like a superstar. He was living like a prisoner. His every move was controlled, perfection demanded, exhaustion ignored. They didn't care about his body or mind. They cared about one thing, the cash machine. The parties, the posts, the appearances, it was all part of the performance. And when he finally broke, they did what they always did, covered it up. But then the leaks started. Insiders began spilling details that shook everything. They said King had been deteriorating for months, maybe longer, but the family refused to acknowledge it because it didn't fit their perfect image. The truth was messy. The doctors weren't just treating stress. They were battling something far more serious. There were murmurs of organ damage, substance use, and warning signs ignored for too long. As more reports came out, the questions grew louder. Was King Harris a victim of relentless family and industry pressure? Or was he the architect of his own downfall? The public split in two. Some saw him as a casualty of the fame machine. Others blamed his reckless choices, the parties, the lifestyle, the defiance. But as rumors swirled, more fingers started pointing inward, toward the people who should have protected him. The Harris family's silence spoke louder than any statement. Was this really about saving King, or about saving face? Was he a victim of fame or a pawn in someone else's game? And then came the darkest revelation yet. Insiders whispered that King knew things that could destroy the entire Harris legacy. What if his health crisis wasn't the only danger? What if he'd uncovered what the empire was truly built on? The lies, the secrets, the dirty money? Some say he'd finally had enough, that he was ready to walk away, expose everything, the shady deals, the hidden sponsors, even rumors of money laundering. And just like that, what started as a health scare turned into something far bigger, a story that could unravel everything the Harris name was built upon. The whispers about King's secret, knowledge of the Harris family's darkest truth started to finally make sense. Maybe King wasn't just the wild child people thought he was. Maybe he was trapped inside an empire that wanted to own him and everything he knew. And here's where things got truly twisted. Reports began circulating about a private recording, a clip allegedly captured just days before King collapsed. Some said he was venting about betrayal, manipulation, and feeling used by those closest to him. If this recording was real, it could blow the whole story wide open. Suddenly, King wasn't just the golden boy of the Harris dynasty. He had become a liability, a threat to the very empire that built him. And the question everyone began asking was chilling. What if his collapse wasn't just medical? What if someone wanted to silence him? Could King have been on the verge of exposing everything? The family's secrets, shady dealings, even their dangerous connections? Was that why his health spiraled so fast? Maybe, just maybe, someone didn't want the truth getting out. If that recording ever surfaced, it would destroy everything. The Harris empire, or the fame, the money, the brand, or could come crashing down overnight. Fans began questioning everything they once believed. Was King a victim of fame's brutal pressure? Or another casualty of greed, manipulation, and corruption? The deeper the leaks went, the clearer it became. This story wasn't about one man's breakdown. It was about an entire dynasty built on silence, and the lengths they'd go to keep it that way. Every new report pulled back another layer of the Harris family's carefully curated image. And then came the leaks that turned the internet upside down. Sources close to the family started talking. the truth that emerged was nothing like the glamorous, polished life they'd shown the world. Reports revealed King hadn't just been stressed. He'd been fighting a battle no one knew about. Insiders claimed he'd been relying on energy pills, boosters, maybe even stronger stuff just to keep going. The family's protection had done more harm than good. But here's the kicker. While King's health collapsed, their focus wasn't on him. It was on the brand. The Harris name couldn't afford to look weak. So instead of pulling him out of the spotlight, they pushed him harder, ignored every warning, and did everything to keep up appearances. Because this wasn't just about King. It was about what his downfall could do to them. As more information spilled out, the picture grew darker. Leaks painted the family as trapped in a web of greed and corruption. Was King truly a victim, or just a pawn in their game? The Harris empire had been built around his fame and image. But now that same empire was starting to crack. Insiders said King's struggle went far beyond fame. It was about pressure, not from the public, but from within his own home. He'd been forced to live a certain way to keep up appearances for the brand. And when leaks kept rolling in, they revealed something even more disturbing. King wasn't just being managed by the industry. He was being controlled by his family. His life had become a show. Every move scripted, every emotion sold. When the cracks began to show, they were simply covered up. His rants, his breakdowns, the leaked videos, all part of a much darker pattern that the Harris family desperately tried to bury. And then came the wildest speculation yet, that King had become too dangerous for his own family. That maybe he'd started asking questions, realizing just how deep their corruption went. Some insiders even claimed he was preparing to walk away, to expose everything, the secret deals, the hidden sponsors, even whispers of financial crimes. But was that really why he collapsed? Was it the weight of their demands, or something more sinister behind the scenes? As weeks passed, more leaks surfaced and the puzzle pieces started to fit. King Harris wasn't battling just fame or exhaustion. He was up against something far darker, a truth his family had been covering up for years. Leaked records hinted at substance abuse, and the rumors of money laundering and shady deals grew louder. The Harris empire, once untouchable, was beginning to crumble from the inside out. Fans and critics alike started to wonder, had King's whole life been a lie? The wildest part, the story of his health scare had now taken on a life of its own. Many began to believe his collapse wasn't about stress or substances at all, but the brutal exploitation that had pushed him past his breaking point. King Harris had been used, drained and discarded, all for the sake of a brand. And as the walls closed in, one question echoed louder than all the rest. Who was really to blame? The industry? Or the very people who were supposed to protect him? And that's when the final twist hit. An explosive leak no one could have predicted just hit the internet. A chilling recording of King Harris, reportedly made right before his collapse. In it, King opens up about betrayal and manipulation from the very people closest to him. You can hear it in his voice. He knows something's off. "I can't keep pretending," he says. "I'm being set up and nobody cares about me. If this audio is legit, it's a bombshell that could shatter everything." The Harris empire, built on King's image and talent, was now cracking from within. It sounded like King had finally realized the truth, that he'd been nothing more than a pawn in someone else's game. And that realization? It might have pushed him to the edge. What if his collapse wasn't just about bad habits, but the weight of betrayal from his own blood? As the clip spread across social media, fans were stunned. Some called it fake, others swore it was real. But either way, the damage was done. King Harris wasn't just a victim of fame. He was a victim of control. And the bigger question lingered. If King was ready to expose everything, did his family know? And try to stop him? Soon it was obvious. King's final days weren't just about his health. They were about secrets, deep, dark, and dangerous ones. The world wasn't just watching his downfall anymore. They were witnessing the collapse of an entire dynasty. The internet went wild. The truth was out, and there was no putting it back. Fans, critics, even insiders joined the frenzy. What was once seen as a personal tragedy now looked like the unraveling of the Harris legacy, a once untouchable empire now burning from the inside. But things were about to get even uglier. As more leaks surfaced, whispers of illegal dealings, financial fraud, and money laundering started swirling. What began as a health scare had turned into a full-blown PR nightmare. The Harris name was being dragged through the mud, tied to shady business connections and underground sponsors. The family tried to contain it, but cracks kept spreading. Public demand for answers grew louder. People wanted to know what really happened before King collapsed. How much did they know? Were they complicit? Or just blind, too obsessed with image to see their son slipping away? Legal experts jumped in. Some called it neglect, others suspected something darker. Insiders hinted King had stumbled into secrets that could bring the whole Harris brand crashing down. Was his collapse just the start of something bigger? The backlash exploded online. Hashtags like "Fire Justice for King" and "Were Harris Exposed" trended nonstop. Fans who once idolized the family were now questioning everything: their fame, their fortune, even their morals. Then came the knockout punch. Leaked hospital files, documents, and bank records started appearing online, hinting at unregulated substances and private suppliers linked to Atlanta's underground networks, the same ones rumored to launder money and deal in illegal enhancers. This wasn't just a fallen celebrity story anymore. It was something far more sinister. The Harris fortune suddenly looked tainted. Were they really living off clean money, or was their success built on dirt and deception? Investigations deepened. Contracts, taxes, secret sponsors, everything was under review. And despite the chaos, the family refused to back down. They fired off statements, interviews, PR spins, but the internet wasn't buying it. The harder they fought, the faster the truth slipped away. The Harris family was trapped, and time was running out. But just when everyone thought they'd heard it all, another twist surfaced. Sources close to the family claimed there's another recording, made just days before King's collapse, where he allegedly talks again about being betrayed, manipulated, and used. If that audio ever drops, it could destroy what's left of the Harris empire. With investigations intensifying and rumors of federal probes, lawsuits and criminal charges looming, one thing's clear: the dynasty that once ruled entertainment might be standing on its last legs. One more slip, and everything they built could crumble overnight. But here's where things take a jaw-dropping turn. While the family scrambled to contain the chaos, new leaks just kept pouring in. Fans started connecting the dots. The timeline before King's collapse, the hidden medical records, the substance use, the ignored red flags, and the most chilling detail of all: documents allegedly showed the family had been warned weeks earlier that King's health was spiraling. Doctors told them plain and simple, if he didn't stop, his body wouldn't hold out. Yet they did nothing. Instead of stepping in, they protected the brand. The internet erupted in fury. Social media flooded with hashtags demanding justice for King, while others unleashed their anger at the Harris family. How could they ignore it? How could they let him reach that point? The legend of King Harris, the unstoppable golden superstar, had cracked wide open, revealing a family desperately clinging to their empire as the world watched it crumble. But by then, the damage was irreversible. Every leak pulled back another layer of the facade. The Harris family, once a symbol of wealth and success, was now trapped in a nightmare they could no longer control. And as the revelations piled up, one thing became painfully clear. King Harris's downfall wasn't just a heartbreaking tragedy. It was the unraveling of an empire built on secrets, lies, and betrayal. The family now stood at a breaking point. One path meant facing the truth, transparency, accountability, maybe even redemption. The other meant doubling down on cover-ups, lawsuits, and the permanent destruction of their legacy. And just when the story couldn't get any bigger, another shockwave hit. Anonymous insiders claimed investigators were zeroing in on the family's finances: tax evasion, shady contracts, even whispers of money laundering. Everything they had built was hanging by a thread. King Harris's story wasn't over, not even close. If anything, it was just beginning. The internet was locked in, fans were demanding answers, and no matter how hard the family tried to rewrite the narrative, it was too late. King's final act had set off a chain reaction, one that would forever change how the world saw the Harris name.